Great. So it is my great privilege to introduce Natalie Jarvie to the stage. She is going to be our moderator extraordinaire for the next 3 panels. Let's give her a huge round of applause.
Hello. Thank you guys for being here. I'm Natalie Jarvie. I'm the editor of Like and Subscribe, which is Anchor's media newsletter about the big business of the creator economy. And we've got a really fun panel for you right now. It's the summer of Bravo, the summer of Peacock, and we have Summer House and In the City star Lindsay Hubbard here, as well as Bravo chairman Frances Berwick.
Hi, everyone. It's also a hot mom summer.
It definitely is.
If I may say so myself.
In all senses of the word.
Yeah, we're very hot here.
It's very hot. Thank you all for bearing with the heat. Our panel is called How to Activate a Fan Base. And I feel like there's no better way to activate a fan base than a little reality TV scandal. I want to start.
So that's where we're starting.
I think we're going to
jumping
start.
in.
I think we got to do it. Lindsay, how surprised were you by the response to everything that was happening in the lives of your co-stars over the last few months?
I would like to say the response was overwhelming, but it is pretty on par for Bravo fans. We have the best fans in the entire world, and they're involved in our lives as much as we are. So I feel like it was an accurate response.
Yeah. Frances, how did Bravo activate around this? I mean, there was a 3-part reunion, there was an aftermath episode. How did you kind of jump in to respond to, what was clearly a lot of interest in what was going on in the lives of your stars?
Well, we're not unfamiliar with the odd cast scandal. I will say this was a bit of a different situation. Obviously, that was the Vanderpump Rules scandal. This was a bit of a different situation, and I think that it goes without saying, although I think people probably thought we were rubbing our hands in glee. It's like, it's about people first. These are, you are wonderful of making light of it, but these are real people with real relationships who, and then it's like a bomb's been thrown into the friend group, which is really tough to deal with, especially when it's out there in the world. At first, we just offered support, and then we lent in. So I like to say we led with kindness first. And then, when we saw how much was going, how much drama was going on, then we did do some filming, and we created the aftermath. And I will say that there was the fortuitous, although not for Lindsay, we were still filming the pickup interviews that we have in Summer House for the later episodes of the season, the day that Amanda and West posted their statement. And so we already had cameras on her, and then Kyle popped around. And so, we really just sort of kept filming, and that was a very real and raw, and sort of seeing them dealing with all the texts that were coming in from the friend group, and and seeing that reaction. And I will say, if I take off my executive hat as a viewer, it was really interesting to sort of see that side of it, and and obviously there's sort of like shock, and what we try and do is, in our shows, is really represent people in a very authentic way, and we cast people who are authentic and unfiltered, and who will be vulnerable. And I think that that's what has come out of the filming that we did since then. So, and yeah, we've sort of tried to manage some of the sort of social posting, because that it can be great, and it can also be incredibly harmful and not so great at times.
You also became kind of an incredible lead-in for your new Summer House spin-off series, In the City, which I know, Lindsay, you are central to. Obviously, you couldn't have planned that, but I have to imagine, it's certainly helped draw awareness to this show. I mean, it's been really fascinating to kind of go back and watch all those months kind of leading up to this spring, and the way that the show was edited, even just kind of, taking us to that moment and then rewinding was really interesting.
Yeah, we have to give all of the flowers and maybe some Emmys to our editors and our entire production team, because the way that they've been able to, I want to say seamlessly, probably wasn't as seamless for them to figure it out, but as a viewer, trying to understand how they're going to fit all of these pickup scenes into 2 different shows, a reunion for Summer House in the city, and the way that they're able to add everything in has been, it's been cool to watch. Like, I think that they've done a really great job at, doing it seamlessly as a viewer.
So moments like this with Summer House, or Frances, you mentioned Vanderpump Rules, really, for me, highlight how much the audience around reality TV has evolved in the last several years, decades. It used to be this kind of guilty pleasure, Now it's the center of culture. Everyone's talking about it. Whether or not you've watched Summer House, you probably know the names Amanda and West and Lindsay and everyone now, right? And Frances, I want you to speak to, what do you think has shifted in culture and in reality TV that has led to, so many people, being proud in their fandom for reality TV?
Yeah, I will say that there is that you sort of nailed the shift. It was guilty pleasure. People would not really sort of cop to it, or they'd say, "Oh, I was watching with somebody else, not I chose to watch it," and that has completely shifted. And I think it's for a couple of reasons. One is, it is we know from all the research that we do on Bravo shows, the number one attribute that people say is it's escapist programming. So it takes them out of themselves, and it provides an outlet, and it's their moment to escape. And so that sort of acceptance that it's part of, this is entertainment that is a self-care movement. This is good for you. It provides joy. You relate to these people. It helps you through bad times you're going through by seeing these people who are aspirational and relatable, and sometimes dealing with the same shit you're dealing with. So there's definitely been a sort of sea change in that. And I do think some of it is because of social, because as people started to share their thoughts online, it became much more accepted. When you're just watching sort of passively, as we were sort of 20 years ago, and not commenting on things, you don't know that all these other people are watching, or you become aware of it if everyone's talking about it outside the world. But this is much more instantaneous, and it's a shared experience now. And I think that creates a connection directly with the viewers and with each other.
You talk about relatability, and it's interesting because I feel like there was a time when reality was all about how outrageous it could be. I mean, when people were watching Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie back in the day, no one was thinking that they could be anything like them. Their lives didn't make sense to most Americans. But now you watch Summer House, you see people go through breakups and become mothers, and that feels very relatable in a different way. And I'm curious, Lindsay, what kind of feedback do you get from fans about that piece of it, that your story can map onto their own personal stories?
Yeah, I do get a lot of messages on Instagram, and it's interesting because I basically spent my entire 30s on Summer House, and now we have In the City, and it's a new chapter, especially for me as a new mom. And I think that there's a big, long journey that we live in life. And, to be able to capture these pivotal moments is highly relatable, especially for people on social media, the age demographics, even younger, generations, Gen Zs and, and thereafter, even college girls are always DMing me, asking me, what I would do in this situation. How do I rebuild a layer of confidence after a breakup? How do I pick myself back up and, keep moving forward? And I try as much as possible to respond, in those moments, because I think cultivating an audience is one thing on television, but also creating a fandom on Instagram, and that the way that both of them relate, or any social media platform, and they go hand in hand.
Social media has been present since you joined the show, but I am curious, like, how you think about the role that it plays, particularly in the times of the year when maybe you're not filming or the show's not airing. You're a social media personality as much as a reality star now, and social media is a great platform for you. How do you think about not just feeding the fandom, but also giving your fans, the people who come to your Instagram page or any other social media page, glimmers of your life and kind of what you're showing to them, when the cameras aren't rolling?
Yeah, we talk about authenticity a lot. I think I'm pretty known to be a very authentic person on and off camera, on, one TV show or another, and the same on Instagram. Obviously, I'm not going to post on Instagram every single time I cry my eyes out at night about something, or, watching Wuthering Heights on the plane here and weeping because of this insane love story that is sad. I'm not going to do that, but I do try to translate, across all of these platforms, the authenticity that I have in my everyday life.
That makes a lot of sense.
And we're just trying to keep her on the air all year long, so...
Well, I did want to ask about that. I mean, In the City does show you back in the city, right? When you're not going to the summer house every weekend. Was that an immediate yes for you to do that? Or did you have reservations about opening up more of your life to viewers?
Oh, no, that was an immediate yes. Obviously. Here's the thing, is like, I was entering that next chapter of my life, and, I will summer in the Hamptons until I'm 100, maybe in the south of France. But my life has changed. How do I still share my life? I've always been an open book. Since I was a kid, you can ask my dad. He was like, please stop. Stop telling everyone everything. But that's just always been my personality. And I think as I've evolved as an adult, as a human, as a mom, it's really nice, and I feel very grateful and flattered and humbled that Bravo wants to continue that journey with me.
Yeah, Frances, I want to ask about the decision to greenlight a spinoff. It does feel like with social media now, people we follow on Instagram or TikTok, like, we kind of follow them like they're reality stars. It's their real lives they're posting, whether they're influencers or creators. I think people kind of expect that always-on experience now from their, celebrity personalities. Was some of your decision there to kind of keep feeding the fandom, give them more of the stories of these people that they've grown to love?
Yeah, very much that was a piece of it, but it was also sort of recognizing we'd done, at the time that we greenlit In the City, we'd done 9 seasons of Summer House. The last 5 had consistently built to bigger ratings and bigger viewership season over season. And, we felt like we could sort of see a moment where some of our cast members might not want to spend every single weekend of the summer in the Hamptons going to rages. And it really felt like a natural extension. And then looking at these beloved personalities who people wanted to follow and seeing who else was in their friend group, and who would appeal to our audience and who we thought had sort of interesting, relatable lives. So it's sort of almost the next life stage of, and following things that are happening to them in their daily life outside the city. We also kept hearing from people during Summer House that they liked the snippets when we would do the occasional event in the middle of the week, and people liked seeing them in their sort of normal lives and how they interacted. And you are sort of genuinely all friends, and you sort of see those relationships develop. So felt like the natural evolution, and we do lean into a good franchise. This made sense.
Yeah, it does feel like, not to cut you off, Lindsay, the shows that are doing really well, that have been around for a long time now, are those that have a lot of, like, lore. There's a lot of backstory. People want to know more. It's like you can get a little taste from the show, and then they want to go deeper, and now you're providing them with that. Lindsay, I don't know if I cut you off. What did you want to say?
Oh, I was just gonna add to what Frances said about, our age group specifically. This is a niche age group that I think we have been missing on reality television set in New York City. I think that we have Next Gen NYC, which is, 10, 15 years younger than us. We have Summer House, which is, our weekends in the Hamptons and partying and theme parties, and it's summertime. And then we have the Housewives, which seemingly have their lives together and all figured out with husbands, wives, kids.
Do they?
Questionable. But we were, I think just in general missing this one age group where we are literally making some of the biggest decisions of our entire lives in our late 30s, early 40s. And, it's these decisions that are involving, should we start a family? Is the timing right? Should we get married? Should we move in together? We are at this, categorically very important time in our lives that it's going to shift what happens in the next 5-10 years for us. So I think that we were missing that on reality television in general, and the fact that you guys were able to lean into that, I think we're feeding the audience, what is more relatable in this age group.
But that sort of underscores, we've been very intentional about going after the audience. At one point, we had a very specific, slightly older female, educated female audience, and we've been very intentional about trying to build out broader audiences, and it seems to be working. Peacock has allowed us, because it has a much younger viewership than Bravo's linear network, it's allowed us to really expand that audience, and now we're looking to, expand further. We have a increasing percentage of co-viewing households, more men watching the network. We're leaning into more Heartland of America shows with the McBee Dynasty, with younger skewing shows with Next Gen NYC. And the gratifying thing is to see the audience really responding to that, and they will watch much more broadly than we probably thought 10 years ago.
I'm glad you brought up Peacock. That's where I wanted to take us next. I mean, it's kind of remarkable to hear you talk about the audience for Summer House growing year after year. That's not that common for a reality show. Typically, the audience goes down over time. Peacock can't be the only piece of that story because Peacock is still only a few years old. What do you think is contributing to that? And then we'll touch on the Peacock piece of it a little bit more.
Some of it actually is Peacock because of that younger audience who they're not going to pay for a cable subscription, honestly. And so that opened up the aperture. And some of it is just the show has become more and more talked about, that our fans are evangelizing it. There's a lot of love for the show. It's sort of iconic in many ways. You can quote many lines from it, including, make me a sandwich.
Sandwiches.
Yeah, so Q1 of this year was Bravo's best performing year on Peacock, or quarter.
Best performing quarter.
Yes. Yeah. And Bravo has become such an important part of the NBC Universal portfolio that when all the other cable channels spun off, you stayed with NBCU and are really integral to Peacock programming now. I am curious, beyond just accessing that younger cohort of audiences, what else has availability on Peacock done for not just Summer House, but the whole network?
Well, we're very intentional about how we cross-pollinate our talent across other shows, specifically, and I oversee the unscripted for Peacock as well, and so we've been very intentional about casting shows like The Traitors, shows like Love Island, where we brought in, 3 years ago, we brought in Ariana Madix from Vanderpump Rules to host the show. That was a game changer. This season we have Sierra from Summer House hosting After Sun, Love Island After Sun. On Traitors, we've really found that that's been very beneficial in terms of getting the awareness up for Bravo shows and helping drive the Traitors viewing by bringing in, that wider audience.
Yeah, It's interesting. With Love Island, you've got that kind of live component. It's happening in real time. I know I said to you off stage that I'm eager to get my fix while I'm here and I'm not able to watch it. How do you think that is impacting reality TV today? The ability to, either go live or, delayed by 24 hours or so. It feels like that creates a must-watch environment.
Yeah, it's a natural way of creating a moment where everyone is talking about it. There's a certain amount of FOMO if you're not keeping up, while we're in Cannes. And, we're trying to drive that urgency, but this sort of as live or real-time version of the show where it's 6 days a week, we tape the episodes 24 hours ahead, it allows audience participation, which I think is absolutely fundamental these days. By the way, on all our shows, whether that's you commenting or judging or sharing on social, sharing memes, whatever, or voting, or playing prediction games on Peacock or anywhere else. It's like that is now part and parcel of the experience of watching television shows, and really helps drive that urgency and creates a moment.
Something I've noticed with Love Island is that, many of the contestants cast on that show have family members running their social media accounts for them. They emerge from the villa with these massive audiences, like primed and ready for whatever they're going to do next. Are you getting involved in that in any way? I mean, it feels like there's such an opportunity there for so many people to really kind of kickstart careers now from shows like that. And how is Bravo kind of facilitating that for the cast?
I mean, there clearly is an opportunity to sort of launch influencer careers that way. I will say that this season in particular, we spent a lot of time looking for cast who did not want to be on the show for clout and for influence, who we think genuinely actually want to find a partner. And I think we did a really good job with that, and we're not leaning into their sort of family members or supporters sort of like posting for them. We just think it's a sort of more authentic experience. And, the other thing that we did differently vis-a-vis social this year was we actually see the dumped islanders getting their phones back, and seeing, to see for the first time, they're like, oh my God, I've got, X thousand or X million followers. I went in with sort of 150. And that's sort of like a nice real world thing, to see how they're seeing what the response was to them rather than having a third party handle it for them.
Because to your point, it can get toxic sometimes on the internet. There can be a lot of negativity. Lindsay, you're pretty online. You've said this. Like, how do you manage that? How do you protect yourself while also wanting to support and promote the show and comment and respond to fans?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a pretty self-confident person, for better or worse. There are times if I'm in just the right mood, I will clap back in a fun, funny way.
I feel like you've been on Threads lately.
I get in trouble. Between Kyle and I, we get in trouble for being on Threads a little too much. I love a comment section. It's fun in there. And, if I have enough time on an airplane, you better believe I'm outside online. But yeah, I would say like there are, I woke up to a message today and it was like a super disgusting, nasty message from some crazy person who, was saying like really mean things. And I was just like, block, block. I'm also the type of person where, I'm not a people pleaser. I think you guys can all tell that. So I don't live to make, the entire world happy. Like that's just impossible. It's like no human can possibly, make every person in the entire world happy. So, if you're not my person, I'm probably not yours. It goes, vice versa. If you feel like we're friends based off of what you've seen on TV and social media, then you're probably my friend too. And that's just how I operate.
The other side of building a big platform is your access to business opportunities, brand deals. I imagine there's a lot of people flooding your inbox right now. There's a lot of attention on Summer House. How are you making decisions about who you want to partner with, and what kind of opportunities you'll say yes to in this moment?
Totally. I would say, as far as brand deals, it needs to fall in line with my brand. It needs to be authentic to who I am as a human. I was saying earlier that I did a T-Mobile deal last year that has been airing on TV pretty much this entire year. But I've had T-Mobile since I was 18 years old. That was like a very organic, natural, authentic brand for me to partner with. And the same with, I just did another deal in California with something that I use pretty much every single day. I think now I am a little bit more picky. I'm not afraid to say no unless it is on brand for me, but it's also more about timing and just schedules and, if it fits in with the timing of my life.
Frances, is that brand interest translating to calls that you're getting as well? How do you think about the right kinds of partners to do larger activations with or to integrate into your shows?
Yeah, and first and foremost, we make sure that it feels organic to that the brand feels organic to the show for the association. But what we see constantly, especially with the Bravo shows, because the audience is so passionate and loyal, the actual sort of enhancement for the brand by association is huge. They are more sort of predisposed to remember, think favorably, then buy. And so that's a really sort of powerful combination that obviously we lean into, and we do it in different ways. Obviously, there's sort of like straight on the air, but also with partnerships like BravoCon, where we have lots of brands who get involved, and it extends their reach enormously because these, clips that they tape at the event go viral and hit, so many people that way.
It's like you're in my brain. I was going to take us to BravoCon next. I just interviewed Saida Silva, and she said when she went to BravoCon for the first time, she felt like Beyonce. There were just so many people screaming her name, so thrilled to see her. How important do you think it is to have those IRL touch points for fans and to bring your shows to life for them in that way?
I think it's vital. The audience has clearly messaged to us that they want a two-way interaction, that they also want to be sort of connected in a community. And so this is the way that we reward them and give back to them. And it's also really nice for the talent to see how great their fandom is. And so it becomes this, it's one of the most sort of joyous experiences to see. It is just a happy place. There is some day drinking. But it's now grown to 30,000 people who have this shared common interest and common love for the brand. And invariably we hear these stories about people who go on their own and then they make sort of friends for life because they have this sort of, shared interest. And then for the talent, it's an extraordinary experience because they are treated a bit like, a teen boy band, right?
Totally. I'm obsessed with BravoCon. If you guys haven't been, you should definitely go.
Yeah, tell me, what have you learned about your fans, about fans of Summer House from seeing them in person at BravoCon?
I love the Summer House fans. They are so much fun. And I don't know what the fan demographic is like for all of the other shows. I'm assuming similar. But again, I love the Bravo fans. I think that they're very loyal. I think they're dedicated to us as even on Summer House and in the city. And I think that they ride hard for us.
So you mentioned earlier you spent pretty much all of your 30s on Summer House. What are your career ambitions and goals, especially as you expand in the city? You've become a mom. How are you thinking about where you want this show to kind of, elevate you to next?
I don't know if I can get too far into what my career goals are on Bravo specifically, but I would love to do a scripted Christmas movie on Peacock.
Okay, noted.
Frances isn't in charge of
I
scripted,
like
though.
it, but I know people who are.
Will you be headed back to the Hamptons this summer?
I have always been a Hamptons girly, and I have, 50-50 custody of Gemma with my baby daddy, so I have some weekends free.
Okay, all right. And Frances, how are you thinking about where you take reality next? I mean, you've had this great few years launching, a new format like Traders. I know it came from the UK, but making it really successful here. I know you're coming out with a normie version of the Traders. I don't know.
The Traitors New Blood.
New Blood,
It actually
yes.
came from Belgium. I feel like we should give the Belgians their due
Yes.
with the format.
Where can reality go next? It does feel like we're in like a real golden era for new types of formats and new fandoms.
I think we are in a great moment, but I will say reality has often been bogged down in you get sort of a number of derivatives. Something successful, you have a hit show, and then it sort of spawns a whole load of rip-offs, and I think we're sort of starting to see that a little bit with shows like The Traitors. I think, where it will go and where the hits will come is where we find things that are truly different and original and fresh. When we produced the first season of Below Deck, it really was, it's a different type of show, but it's a perfect format in some respects because it is an organic crew who are working together in close quarters for 6 to 8 weeks, and there are difficult people who we don't make up. They are the real clients who come on board. And it's a sort of hothouse that works really well in terms of sort of, drama and comedy and relationships. And so, we're constantly developing, what could be new areas, but trying to go sort of like really wide of the mark. So we're very good at ripping ourselves off. We don't need other people to do it. We want to find what's the next thing.
I think that's a great place for us to end. Thank you both so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.